Hey, welcome back to part 3 of the 1997 through 2003 Ford F-150 install video. We're going to go ahead and get this top recovered right now and then go ahead and get the whole seat reassembled.
Now when you're doing the top install, it's a lot easier to have the seat frame on the ground versus up on a workbench. So go and throw it on the ground. Make sure you got your cover turned inside out like we got here. You can see the Velcro is facing out right here because we're going to basically just roll the cover back down on it. So make sure that you don't have it turned backwards. The Velcro is going to turn around and lay corresponding on there.
So go ahead and line up these two seams where you see these top two seams and just use your hand. It does help to have an extra person. But just start rolling it down on top. Keeping in mind you can adjust the cover a little more whenever you roll it completely over the cushion.
Let's see here. There we go. All right, now
back up on the bench.
Yeah, there we go. Now once it's on, you can go ahead and you can kind of manipulate the cover to match up with the seam lines, make sure it's perfectly straight, and then go ahead and anchor the Velcro from the cover onto the cushion.
And now this double stitch that runs along here, that's going to be, at the edge of the bolster. Go ahead and, if the bolster's up here, looking like it's not straight, go ahead and reach your hand in and just push that out to where the corner of the bolster meets that double stitch line. Do that on both sides here.
Make sure the top's pulled down on the way. Got a little slack in the top here. Stick my hand up under here. Yeah. Okay.
And once those two bolsters are lined up, go ahead and reach it up and start working that Velcro down, pushing it back down on the foam cushion. Get everything lined up straight.
It's real important to make sure that the Velcro is anchored real good because that's what really makes the tight definition of the seat, so everything falls in the seam pattern correctly.
There you go.
There. Perfect. Now it's on. We're going to go ahead and clip this bottom J-clip together.
It does help to have a
This is going to be really tight.
Flat heads.
Ready?
Kind of push it down with a flathead screwdriver.
Okay, this side started. There we go. Nice.
And there is one cut here at the back you'll have to make for the knob that leans the whole seat forward. There should be a couple stitches here, and there's a plastic piece behind it. Go ahead and cut on that line, just one straight cut.
There we go.
And go ahead and push that knob through. Just like that.
There we go. All right, now that we have the top frame all on, we're going to go ahead and bolt the seat bottom pan back to it and finish up the install. All right, next we're going to go and join the seat top and the seat bottom back together. First step in doing that is running the lumbar cable back through the hole here. We're going to tip this up. We're going to start running this cable through underneath. There we go. That's fed through. Next little tip, take you a rag. You want to cover up over this hinge mechanism here. There's a lot of sharp edges and stuff that can cut up this side panel when you're lining up the peg in the hole over here. So go ahead and cover that up. I've learned the hard way several times on that one before I started covering it up with a rag. So go ahead and drape that over there. That'll save you from tearing up the new cover before it's all completely on. So we're going to drop the seat cover down, the bottom down. We're going to tip the top up and start to line up that hole. Now make sure that this cable is on the inside of the frame here. That way it doesn't get pinched in between the seat bottom and the top when you run the bolts in. So it's always good to have a second person to help you do this. So one can hold the cable over and we can line up the holes there. I think we're on there.
Yep. And you should be able to look in there and see that the peg is through that hole right there. And once it gets started like that, you can see that it's going to line up. Go ahead and give the seat a little bear hug. And you should see and hear it clip. It doesn't always make a noise, but you'll be able to tell.
A lot of times you'll hear it pop when it connects all the way through, but as long as you can see that it's through there, you know it's lined up good. When you run the bolts, it's going to hold everything tight together.
All right, and then you take your two 13-millimeter bolts that run this side frame hinge piece in here.
Slide this rag out now.
And you should be able to peek underneath this cover and see where the back one starts. Go ahead and get that lined up. Take a 13-millimeter socket. There it is. And don't tighten it all the way, because that way you have some slack to move it. Put the other one in.
Now if you can't find this hole right away, a lot of times we can kind of poke the bolt and tail. You can take a small flathead screwdriver or an ice pick. You can kind of feel around and poke to where it gives through. That way you know you've lined up your hole up properly. Alright, now that that's on, we're going to go ahead and put bolt the seat frame on the bottom. Before we put the frame on, we're going to go ahead and hook on the lumbar control. It's a lot easier. You got a little more room to work without the bottom frame on to go and hook the lumbar on. There's a small hole in the side that we're going to have to trim out for that lumbar. I'm going to have Hunter go ahead and start trimming that out. I'll show you.
Okay, here's that lumbar control that we disconnected earlier. Again, this steel post right here is going to go into this hole. Just like that, and you'll be able to hear it snap back together just like that.
Make sure you hear it snap. Sometimes it looks like it's all the way on, but you'll always hear a real distinct snap when it goes on. Otherwise it can come loose, and then your lumbar knob is going to be obsolete. It's not going to work at all.
And once you got that snap back together, you'll be able to peek under this cover right here and see the hole. We can zoom in and see that right there. That's where this control knob goes. It goes up underneath the frame like that.
You don't have to be absolutely precise on your cut, because you got this big plastic panel, so you got a lot of room for forgiveness around that cut. So as long as you can peek underneath the frame and you can see the hole in the metal frame underneath to see exactly where it is. I usually cut a small hole in the middle and you can kind of go around it there. But it doesn't have to be pretty, because it's going to be covered up by this plastic panel in the end. Get the screws for you in the drill. I always say it's like a haircut. You can keep cutting more off, but you can't put it back on. So just trim a little bit and then kind of hold your panel up and see if you can get it through. If you still need to cut them more, trim a little bit more and keep working that way.
That'll work.
I'd rather cut 3 or 4 different times than cut one time and too big. So just trim a little bit at a time.
Let me see those 2 screws.
There's 2 screws. Here's the Phillips on the drill for you. Let me hold that for you while you... There we go. Once again, don't drive that first screw in real tight so you can still adjust for the top. There we go.
And tighten them both down.
All right, now we're on to hooking the bottom frame back on.
Hey, we're almost done with the install. Since YouTube only allows us to upload 10 minutes at a time, join us for segment 4 where we'll wrap this project up quickly.